No, I think there'll be changes in the bill, and I think it is likely that they will come together. There's a lot of pressure being put on, particularly as it relates to if they do not put something together here, the tax increases that will take place will hit 68% of all those out there who file taxes, one way or the other, how much that is. But certainly there will be pressure. Changes will take place. They'll have to take place. There's no question in my mind that there are a number of provisions in this bill that the House sent over that are what we call birdable, in the sense that they do not belong in this bill. They have no budgetary consequence. And so it will change. Now, the question I would ask, though, is to get it done and on the President's desk by July the 4th is a rather expedited process, but what that tells me is that the Senate will have to negotiate what they pass, the House will have to just simply take up and pass. And that's where the difficulty is going to lie in terms of can they put a bill together in the Senate that the House can simply take and pass.
Should we assume that the current policy baseline accounting method is okay with the parliamentarian? Will that be the case in the Senate?
Well, Joe, that's a very good question. It's a question that I've been asking myself for quite some time.
Mike Johnson seems to be making this assumption.
I think that being an old budgeteer, I don't think that it passes the test that is necessary to get around a bird rule. There is a problem here with the current policy baseline, and I don't want to get into the weeds here, but it does impact upon what we call the bird rule, which is adding to the deficit beyond the 10-year window, in which case then it would be it would violate the process. And historically, I've been out of the 23, 24 reconciliation bills that have been enacted over the 50-year history of the Budget Act, I participated in about 20 of them, I guess, and we've always used current law, not current policy. But at the same time, I will tell you what I'm picking up, and as an old budgeteer who thinks deficits and debt matter, I'm picking up it doesn't really matter right now. They aren't concerned about the debt and deficit, and that's disconcerting to me, if nothing else.
Well, we've also heard from the majority leader, Senator Thun, contends that actually it's up to Senator Lindsey Graham, who leads the Budget Committee, to decide whether current policy baseline is justified or not. Do you see John Thun as being willing to defy the parliamentarian on that or any issue?
No, I don't. I think the majority leader has, I understood, made it very clear he's not going to question the parliamentarian. And therefore, I don't think he would go beyond the parliamentarian's advice. Now, again, the parliamentarian gives the advice to the chair. The chair rules, not the parliamentarian. And so it's possible the chair could say current policy is fine and we'll go forward with it. It's an unanswerable question, Joe. I'm sorry at this point to give you that answer.
Well, this is, we're getting to the rub here. I mean,
yes.
The old line that the Senate is the saucer that cools the tea. Senate. Is it going to be the opposite this time?
I think the Senate is going to certainly modify the House, the hot tea of the House, and
turn up the heat under the tea.
But honestly, this is going to be a very dicey exercise, obviously, for the majority leader in the Senate, because he has to also make sure that whatever he passes can get passed back into the House and it not fail in the House, too. So getting the two sides, the ones who want more deficit reduction and those who don't want to make the particular reductions that are necessary, this is going to be a very, very difficult exercise for the new majority leader.
When we consider the Medicaid issue specifically, President Trump is contending that there are false statements being made, that these are not Medicaid cuts that are happening. We've been told the same by many Republicans on this program, including Congresswoman Ashley Hinson last night, who told us that this is just fear-mongering on the Democrats. This isn't about cuts. It's about making sure the program can last long term. How realistically should we be framing these Medicaid alterations, cuts, whatever you want to call them?
I think I think there's truth in both arguments that are being put forth. Number one, work requirements. Are the work requirements a cut? No, if they're requiring individuals to participate in the Medicaid program, and if they choose not to because of the work requirement, is that a cut? I don't know. At the same time, the provider tax that's in there does impact directly, I think, nursing homes, rural hospitals. That could feed back to being real cuts on individuals. So when the CBO makes the estimate and your reporter indicated also about 6.7 million, 7 million people that would be removed from the Medicaid rolls because of this. I think it's hard to say there aren't going to be reductions here, and particularly the one area that should be focused on, I think, as coming from a rural area myself, is the rural hospitals. They could very well be hit by the provider tax. One other thing I want to make, Kaylee, that point I would make is that we should also look at the SNAP program, the food stamp program, and the changes that are being proposed there, which are work requirements also, but also the requirement that the states pick up a particular share. Right now, the SNAP benefit itself is 100% federal. If you're asking the states to pick that up, for the SNAP benefits, and then you're asking the states to pick up the administrative cost associated with the work requirement. There are going to be some major shifts in administrative costs to the states, and those are, a lot of them are red states, and so when those red state governors start calling their senator, I think it will make some changes.
Well, you're really putting your finger on. So Jim Justice knows this, which is why he's been talking about it. Republican senators with big rural communities in their states are deeply concerned about that provider tax. They see nursing homes closing, rural hospitals closing. Does that mean Republicans crank back the changes to Medicaid?
I think there will be some changes in the Medicaid program, particularly coming out of that. You've reported so many times here. We got Susan Collins, who has concerns. You have Murkowski has concerns.
That's right.
Josh Hawley, of all people, a conservative senator, has concerns about that. These are big issues in rural areas of the country and rural hospitals. Yes, I think there will be changes.
Well, as we wait to see what those changes are in the Senate, the House is also going to be taking up some work this week, as the White House is now formally sharing a Recision package with the House. PBS, NPR, USAID funding, I think it amounts to about $9 billion.
$9 billion.
Bill, I think they're going to make a big deal out of this, but is this a big deal or is it a drop in a bucket?
Well, $9 billion is nothing to snuff at. And I would say that, yes, it is a big deal. The question here is, I'm not clear. I haven't seen the proposal yet, whether it's the $9 billion is made up of basically the USAID funds and then the public radio and public communication. And my sense here is if they put those two together as one package, it probably does pass the House. I'm not sure it passes the Senate, though. Again, we're back to the rural areas that depend a lot upon some of the corporate broadcasting systems that are out there. Not to take anything away from Bloomberg at all, of course, but definitely. Yeah. So, yes, that's it. One thing you should know is that this is probably just the start of rescission. This is something under the Impoundment Control Act. The president has every right to propose to Congress the elimination of funding that has been made available. My sense is there's going to be a lot more coming later in the year. Yeah?
Will that be coming with help from the Doge, or is that a separate?
Well, it's separate from Doge, but the Doge proposals that now take actual form in the form of a rescission that would be submitted to Congress. I don't want to get into the weeds too far here, but you have 45. Congress has 45 days to act on a rescission package once it's submitted. Either you approve it or you don't approve it. And if you wait until, say, the middle of the August recess and you propose those, it is possible that those rescissions would go in effect without any action by Congress. This is what we call line item rescission veto. And so be aware that there's some more coming.
And that can happen during a recess, is what you're saying?
It can. It's not. They're not on official recess. There's continuous session. They will not go on recess during the August
so you keep one
vacation.
Pro forma
The
sessions.
pro forma largely so that they can avoid recess appointments.
Right.